Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Somaliland National Television English News Program. My name is Farhat Sheikh Habib and I'm here to update you with Somaliland and international news. These are the main top stories making headlines. Somaliland Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy highlighted that the fuel explored from Somaliland will only be for Somaliland government and its community. Director General of Ministry of Information, Culture and National Guidance retained to the capital city of Somaliland. Somaliland State Minister of Education and Higher Studies alongside the Director General of Ministry of Education returned home from Ethiopia. Jamaica bans visitors from Ebola-hit nations. The Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy, Mr. Hussein Abdi Duale, in an interview with the Rice News International, highlighted that several international mineral exploring companies licensed by Somaliland are operating in Somaliland. The resources, he said, will solely be for Somaliland government and its community, not for Somalia.
Well, there's 4 international companies right now that has operating licenses with Somaliland, namely DNO, which is a London-based company traded in the London Stock Exchange, that's called Genel Energy. We have DNO, which is a Norwegian firm that's also a publicly traded company, traded at the Oslo Stock Exchange. And we have 2 Middle Eastern companies by the name of Raggas LLC and Ansan Wicks. So there's a total of 4 operating companies right now in Somaliland.
If they do find oil, who will it belong to, Somaliland or Somalia?
Well, we tend to believe it's going to belong to Somaliland. Somaliland, as you mentioned, is an autonomous state, has been independent from Somalia for 23 years. We really not new in this endeavor of basically being a de facto state that control and manage and own their own resource. So we feel that we have a legitimate reason to believe that the oil will belong to Somaliland. And one good indication is that, you know, we have publicly traded companies that basically entered into a contract with Somaliland. They did not go to Mogadishu to get these licenses signed. They came to Hargeisa, our capital, and signed these contracts with the government of Somaliland, not Somalia.
Which is interesting because the international community has yet to recognize Somaliland as an actual state.
Somaliland was a country, an independent country that took its independence from Britain in June 1960, and then we, on our own will, united with a pretty Italian colony called Somalia. That union didn't work, so we basically separated from Somalia. Which is fine.
That's a fine as far as the history goes. But no international body yet recognizes you. I wonder if this lack of recognition is actually going to hold you back in terms of trying to open yourself up to the world.
We have been basically doing our own, outreach to engage the international communities, and we're not really short of companies or countries that are really engaging with us as an independent sovereign country, not necessarily having a flag in the United Nations, but we have offices represented by different countries such as Britain, such as Ethiopia, Djibouti. Kenya is going to open an office, the Sharjah Fair office in Somaliland very soon. So we have a multitude of United Nations organizations that deal with us directly as a separate state, not through Mogadishu.
And so if oil is found in Somaliland, do you think Mogadishu will try to lay any claim to it?
I cannot really basically predict what Mogadishu will do.
So that's not clear cut, is it?
Yeah,
they might.
Well, that is up to them, what they would really feel like, but we absolutely 100% are certain that at the end of the day, this resource belongs to the state of Somaliland, and it's going to basically belong to the people in Somaliland.
You're here in London as part of a delegation from Somaliland trying to court international investors.
We really have a whale of a day yesterday. It was just a completely sold out, standing room only. This event went well beyond our expectations. And we have basically just thought there's going to be a handful of delegates coming in, and it was basically completely sold out. We just had a complete interest, a huge interest in investing in Somaliland by different companies, from the extractives to energy companies such as for solar and wind and renewable energy and so on and so forth, agriculture. So we really had a huge turnout yesterday.
Minister, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Somaliland State Minister of Education and Higher Studies, accompanied by the Director General of Ministry of Education, returned to the capital city of Somaliland, Hargeisa, from Ethiopia. State Minister of Education told the media at Hargeisa Zigal International Airport that they received an invitation from the Ethiopian Minister of Education. The State Minister underlined that they discussed various areas of common interest between the two countries, majorly focusing on education and the scholarships provided by Ethiopia to Somaliland. The State Minister added that this meeting will boost bilateral ties between the two countries. This work visit is very important for both nations because the Ethiopian government Ministry of Education is promising that they will maintain for their scholarships to Somaliland students. The State Minister also highlighted some of the challenges that Somaliland students learning Ethiopian private universities, whereby he said that mostly Somaliland students encounter problems of visas when learning universities, and we get identified this challenge after having meeting with them. He called for the students traveling for education to Ethiopia to get their visas prior they depart in order that they do not face this setback. The Director General advised the youth traveling to other countries for education to take their first degree home, and they should take their visas with them when traveling to Ethiopia for education so that they do not meet challenges. The Director General of Ministry of Information, Culture and National Guidance returned to the capital city of Somaliland following a trip of several European countries where he met Somaliland diaspora communities.
The Director General of Ministry of Information, Culture and National Guidance returned to Somaliland capital Hargeisa following a trip to several European countries where he met Somaliland diaspora communities. The Director, speaking to SLN-TV, thanked Somaliland diaspora communities for their support and commitment to further the Somaliland recognition campaign. Additionally, the Director was joined by Mr. Mikhail, a Swedish diplomat who advocates for Somaliland recognition, who also stated that he is happy to come to Somaliland.
I'm very happy to be back in Somaliland, my second home country, to finally recognize all the good things that you have done. So let us continue to work hard together for recognition. Let us to work against corruption, for democracy and for human rights in this splendid nation that we have here in Somaliland. So I'm proud and happy to be here. Somaliland Hanulato.
Ministry of Youth, Sports and Tourism organized a workshop aimed to discuss youth challenges and ways to undermine those hindrances in order to increase youth developmental initiatives. The meeting had an attendance by official members from the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Tourism, including the Director General of Youth, Sports and Tourism, Mr. Muhammad Hussein Adam Dabaye, Director of Youth Department from the Ministry, members of the Staff Ministry from Tugdar region, and components from youth clubs. Director General of Ministry of Youth, Sports and Tourism, speaking on the occasion, has discussed the objectives of the meeting and the key issues that the participants focused on during the workshop, where he stated that the meeting was designed to deliberate the enormous challenges faced by the youth and techniques to resolve them by creating panel discussions joined by youth members and other stakeholders on the agenda. Dabaye went on to highlight that some of the results they have agreed upon included that the ministry will embrace in the next year budget funds to develop youth initiatives. In addition, the Director General discussed about claims regarding some of disputes exist in the office of the ministry in Tugdar region and pointed out that these are fabrications and false statements with no facts on the ground. Other officials, including the coordinator of Ministry of Youth, Sports and Tourism, Ismail Waither, Director of Youth from the Ministry, Sayyid Ali, spoke on the occasion where they inspired the youth to take part in building their future streamline by working closely with the Ministry. On the conclusion, Mr. Debe handed over his sports kit to the coordinator of the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Tourism for the youth in the region. Dr. Adna Adam spoke to the media at the airport and discussed about the objective and importance of the UK-Somaliland Investment Conference, whereby she said that this meeting was to promote and facilitate businesses and investment opportunities in Somaliland. Mrs. Adna Adam spoke to the media at the airport and discussed about the objectives and importance of the UK-Somaliland Investment Conference, whereby she said that this meeting was to promote and facilitate business and investment opportunities in Somaliland. She said the attendees at the conference agreed that while the aid relationship will remain important, it will be business and investment that will prove increasingly important in creating jobs, sustainable growth, and prosperity in Somaliland. She further added that this is a tremendous progress that Somaliland attained, where she also wished other similar conferences to be held at other countries in the world. The UK government remains committed to help build a more economically stable and prosperous future for Somaliland. Ministry of Youth, Sports and Tourism organized a workshop aimed to discuss youth challenges and ways to undermine those hindrances in order to increase youth developmental initiatives. The resident of Adale district of Marodijah region held a large event in which they showed their support to the current Somaliland government. The event was participated by the head of the district, Musa Mohammed Magan, cultural leaders, youth and women.
Residents of Adali district of Marodijah region held a large event in which they showed off their support to the current Somaliland government. The event was participated by the head of district, Musa Mohammed Magan, cultural leaders, youth and women. They all spoke about the recent anti-government conference called on by a number of youth members from Adali district. The head of Adale district, Mr. Magan, described the massive accomplishment of the government, and he stated that Kulmiya party fulfilled more than 80% of the promises made during the presidential campaign. Other speakers collectively praised the government's achievement and reiterated the importance to remain united to achieve the desired development.
You're still watching English news program on Somaliland National Television. And now for our international headlines in detail. Jamaica bans visitors from Ebola-hit nations, Caribbean country Chinese Guyana and Trinidad, in imposing bans on travelers from Ebola-stricken West African countries.
Jamaica has ordered an immediate ban on people who have traveled through the Ebola-affected countries of Liberia, Guinea and Sierra Leone, joining a growing number of states to impose such restrictions. The Minister of National Security said in his statement on Thursday that the ban covered certain persons traveling directly or indirectly from or through the West African countries, where nearly 4,500 people have died of the disease. News of the ban came as opposition Republican politicians in the United States called on President Barack Obama to impose a similar ban of the two nurses who cared for Liberian patient Thomas Eric Duncan contracted the virus. Duncan later died of the disease. Aside from Jamaica, another South American country, Guyana, said it had denied entry to citizens from West African states as well as Nigeria for the past 5 weeks. Trinidad and Tobago, Colombia and St. Lucia took similar steps earlier this week. Obama has so far resisted the call for a ban, saying on Thursday that experts have told him a flat-out travel ban is not the way to go, because current screening measures on travelers are working. At the White House meeting, Obama said he's considering appointing Paula Cesar as the lead of U.S. coordinating the effort to contain the virus. He also signed an order calling up military reservists to help the government's anti-Ebola operation. Early on Thursday, Thomas Frieden, director of the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, cautioned Congress members that a panic could only make the crisis worse. He said some West Africans have U.S. passports and that others could come into the country without revealing their point of origin, making it harder to trace them.
U.S. steps up strikes on ISIL in Syria's Kobane. U.S. says it carried out 14 air strikes on ISIL targets on Wednesday and Thursday, as Kurdish commanders ask for weapons.
Several days of heavy airstrikes by U.S. warplanes have helped Syrian Kurdish fighters regain ground against the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant armed group in the Syrian border town of Kobane. Heavy and light weapons fire were audible from across the border in Turkey on Thursday, with one stray mortar hitting Turkish soil close to the abandoned tents. Early on Thursday, the U.S. said that even though its string of aerial attacks had killed several hundred ISIL fighters, the town could still fall into the armed group. Airstrikes on Wednesday and Thursday appear to have slowed the group's advances, but the security situation on the ground in Kobane remains tenuous. A Kurdish commander told the BBC that ISIL fighters had retreated from all areas except 2 pockets in the east of the town. ISIL was also being beaten back this week from Amriyat al-Fallujah, a key city just west of Baghdad. The U.S. military denied that the Iraqi capital was in imminent danger. The U.S. said it had held direct talks in Paris over the weekend with the main Syrian Kurdish group whose forces have been battling ISIL. Officials added that they were yet to discuss arming the fighters. Kurdish spokesmen said their forces were giving coordinates of ISIL targets to the U.S. and its coalition partners. Idris Nassin, a Kurdish official in Kobane, said, "We need more airstrikes as well as weaponry and ammunition to fight them on the ground."
That's the end of our English news desk on Somaliland National Television. From me and the rest of the team are leaving you until we meet for the next time. Goodbye.